Hey everyone, we know how hard it can be to keep up with the latest news in Israel. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of what's what in the Holy Land, we're here for you. I'm Ladar Gavelazi, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
Welcome to ILTV News. I'm Emily Schrader, and we begin today after a weekend of war. On Friday, the IDF and Mossad launched a daring operation against the Islamic Republic of Iran on Iranian soil, targeting regime sites and nuclear facilities. This war was declared after 46 years of the mullah's genocidal commitment to the destruction of the State of Israel. Since Friday, the IDF and Mossad have been bombarding IRGC missile sites, military defense capabilities, regime infrastructure, including key energy sites, conducting targeted assassinations of regime officials, and striking nuclear sites heavily. Thus far, the IDF has destroyed the defense systems of the regime repeatedly, has taken out 9 nuclear scientists, has eliminated the IRGC chain of command, and killed the chief of staff of the Iranian military. In response, Israel has already received 7 waves of ballistic missile attacks targeting civilian areas and is expecting more. At least 13 Israelis have been confirmed killed in these attacks and hundreds more injured. But here's what you need to know. This war didn't start with the IDF's courageous strikes on regime targets. It started when the death cult of Khomeinism hijacked the nation of Iran in 1979, aided by communist and Islamist terror groups, including Yasser Arafat's PLO. Since then, the regime has poured its resources into destabilizing the entire Middle East and funding proxy terror groups that murder and maim countless innocents across the region, including their own people. But their terror isn't limited to the region. They've kidnapped and murdered U.S. citizens for decades, including through their terror proxy Hezbollah, and even attempted to assassinate U.S. President Trump. They have funded and armed terror proxies such as the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza. And the weakness of the West towards the regime in their non-enforcement of sanctions and their hostage diplomacy helped enable the October 7th massacre. Now Israel has done what no other nation had the courage to do: strike inside Iran to eliminate the regime's nuclear program and neutralize the world's most dangerous terrorist regime. After evidence was revealed showing the regime intended to build 10 nuclear bombs and was plotting to launch an existential war against Israel. As expected, the Islamic Republic of Iran has escalated, striking Israel in multiple salvos. The regime has launched a massive counterattack, firing hundreds of ballistic missiles and suicide drones directly into Israeli civilian populations. Missiles struck Tel Aviv, Haifa, Bat Yam, Ramat Gan, Rehovot, Jerusalem, and Tamra, cities, not military bases. Entire buildings have been flattened. Families have been destroyed. While Israel continues strikes on military targets, what the regime is doing are blatant war crimes. But this isn't just Israel's fight. The Islamic Republic of Iran is the greatest threat to global security today. It's the head of a terror octopus with tentacles in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Africa, and even Latin America. Its goal is simple: destroy Israel, eradicate Western democracy, and advance this red-black alliance at home and abroad. But this evil will be defeated, even as the IDF strikes regime targets. Something incredible is happening inside of Iran. Brave Iranians are taking to the rooftops, chanting death to Khamenei, not death to Israel, death to their own dictator. The people of Iran who have been beaten, tortured, imprisoned, and raped by this regime know the truth. This war isn't against them. It's against the IRGC. Israel is not the enemy. The enemy is the regime that kills its own children in the streets. Furthermore, Israel is not standing alone. The United States, the UK, Germany, and France are all assisting with aerial refueling of Israeli planes. As it stands now, airspace has been shut down across the region. Nuclear negotiations with Iran have been canceled, and oil prices have spiked. But let me be clear, this is a defining moment for the free world. If we fail to stop the Islamic Republic now, we invite further escalation, nuclear proliferation, global terrorism, and potentially regional collapse. Israel is fighting on the front lines for itself, for the Iranian people, and for the entire free world. Together, the State of Israel and the Iranian people will be victorious in defeating the Nazis of our time, because we have no other choice. For a better future, the entire world must stand with Israel. Well, Israel's Operation Rising Lion is fully deployed, with the Israeli Air Force pounding Islamic Republic regime sites with ongoing waves of airstrikes targeting nuclear and military sites almost at will, with Iranian air defenses largely destroyed or ineffective. The Air Force is now also targeting Iranian oil depots. Most recent reports from Iranian sources claim that in the last few hours alone, the IDF has targeted the Iranian Air Force headquarters, the Tehran police headquarters, Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, the Ministry of Intelligence, the IRGC headquarters, and the Iranian Islamic Consultative Assembly building. There are also unconfirmed reports that IRGC leader Ismail Khani was assassinated. We will keep you updated with further updates on that issue. In addition to that, we just saw a barrage of approximately 50 rockets, ballistic missiles coming from the Islamic Republic of Iran just moments ago, actually delaying our broadcast here at ILTV News. The overnight attacks as well. We have an update from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
After decades of preparation, the war against Iran and its nuclear program is underway and ongoing. Since Friday, the Air Force has been pounding military targets all over Iran. Israel hit nuclear sites in Tehran, and the Natanz enrichment site was significantly damaged. The initial surprise attack destroyed Iranian anti-aircraft and opened the way for waves of airstrikes that are following. Targeted strikes have killed the chief of the Republican Guard, the head of the army, top commanders, and leading scientists. Operation Rising Lion follows decades of warnings against the Iranian nuclear program and military preparations to thwart it, with a coordinated offensive against the Islamic Republic, striking nuclear sites, military facilities, army bases, and senior leadership. There have been multiple waves of Israeli strikes. Over 200 aircraft were involved in the opening salvo, and fighter jets have reportedly dropped many hundreds of munitions on over 100 targets. Operation Rising Lion is directed primarily at Iran's nuclear program after the army assessed that Iran currently has enough enriched uranium to build 15 nuclear weapons and had reached the point of no return in pursuit of a nuclear weapon. The head of the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, told the UN that an Israeli strike had destroyed the above-ground enrichment plant in Natanz. Iran confirmed that its Fordow nuclear facility sustained damages. A group of Iranian nuclear scientists were hit in a targeted operation. They were found based on intelligence that they were gathering to advance the development of nuclear weapons. Satellite images confirmed damages to Iran's ballistic nuclear arsenal. The operation is ongoing and could last for weeks, with the goal at the end of the operation that there will be no more nuclear threat from the Islamic Republic.
In an absolute miracle, Tel Aviv escaped tragedy despite the chaos and worry that still lingers in the air. An Iranian ballistic missile made direct hit with an apartment building in the city. ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian is on scene with the latest.
We are standing outside one of the 4 impacted sites from this Iranian ballistic missile attack that happened in the very early morning hours. As you can see behind me, these buildings took a direct hit. There's nearly nothing left, completely bombed out zones here. There are tons of crews on scene just trying to clear all the debris. As you can see, there are damaged cars. There's a lot of troops on site moving different types of equipment. I actually just want to show you this building here, up here. Every single window is blown out of this high-rise here. Just incredible damage, enormous damage, all floors of this big building here in central Israel. We are just a few streets away from the U.S. Embassy, which we also heard sustained some damage here. No one was killed. There were people injured, including a baby, but in other sites, there were several people that were killed. One man who lives on the street right behind where the direct hit happened and also just returned home from serving in Gaza shows me the extent of the damage to his home and how loud the blast was.
I heard a huge explosion, instantly knew that it was like all the windows in my apartment were gone. Obviously came back and like everything was gone, there's no more windows. I don't know if you could see, but whole apartment's all glass, broken everywhere. Like these are, take down half a building easily, and you gotta be very careful. These aren't small bombs, these are big boy bombs. They're scary stuff. I don't think it's anything new. I think it's a little bit weird that the world doesn't say anything about it at all, but it doesn't seem anything new to me. I'm not that surprised. I'm very happy we have really good air defense, so that's pretty much what's keeping us alive.
It's day 620 of the war in Gaza. The IDF announced the deaths of 2 soldiers killed by an explosive device planted in a building in Khan Yunis. The soldiers were identified as Captain Tal Mavshovitz, 28, from Reut, and Staff Sergeant Neve Leshen, 20, from Nukdim. 10 other soldiers were wounded in the incident. Their deaths brought the IDF toll in the ground offensive against Hamas since October 2023 to 432. The deadly incidents came as the IDF drew some forces out of Gaza, redeploying them along the borders with Egypt and Jordan. Amid the war with Iran, the army stands ready and deployed on all of the Israeli borders. Well, Israeli officials have confirmed efforts to target the Houthi terror group chief in an airstrike last night in Yemen. It's unclear whether Mohammed al-Ghamari was killed or injured in the attack, but Israeli media reports that al-Ghamari was believed to have been meeting with other Houthi leaders, including its Air Force commander, at the time of the strike, which was directed at his command headquarters. Ambulances were reportedly called to the scene, and there were casualties. Al-Ghamari trained in Iran and coordinated between Tehran and the Houthis and oversees the Houthi missile program. Since March 18th, when Israel resumed its offensive in Gaza, the Houthis have launched over 50 missiles and at least a dozen drones at Israel last night. The Houthis again fired a ballistic missile at Israel, which was successfully intercepted. And as IAF airstrikes continue pounding Iran, the IDF announced the targeted killing of the newly appointed Iranian chief of staff, Ali Soleimani, only days after the killing of his predecessor. The IDF also claimed full control over the skies of Iran, stating that they can pick and choose from a range of military and nuclear targets. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
עכשיו ניתן לומר שהשגנו עליונות אווירית מלאה בשמי טהרן. גל התקיפה אמש נפתח בתקיפות ממוקדות של מערכי ההגנה האווירית שנועדו להגן על מוקדי הכוח של צבא איראן וכוח קוץ בלב איראן. לאחר שפגענו במערכי ההגנה, תקפנו את המפקדות באמצעות עשרות כלי טיס במקביל, בהן גם מפקדות של פרויקט הגרעין האיראני. המפקדות הללו מוקמו במכוון בתוך בניינים ורבי קומות. מנהיגי המשטר חשבו שכך לא נמצא אותם והם יישארו חסינים. הם שגו.
Earlier, the IDF released this video showing the moment the airstrike hit the Iranian broadcaster in Tehran. The army said it attacked the Iranian ILTV and radio, which is the propaganda arm of the Islamic Republic. It was attacked by the IDF after Israel ordered the evacuation of the building. The army said the building was also being used as a communication center for the Iranian army. The IDF is carrying out more waves of strikes on missile launchers in western Iran. The Air Force struck a truck ferrying weapons on a highway between Tehran and Qom. The truck was carrying surface-to-air missile launchers. It was eliminated minutes after being identified. The army said it's working to hunt down missile launchers to prevent attacks on Israel. Israel claims that about a third, or 120 launchers, have been destroyed.
במהלך הלילה השלמנו מהלומה נרחבת במספר מוקדים בלב איראן. בתקיפה זו השתתפו יותר מ-50 מטוסי קרב וכלי טיס אשר תקפו והשמידו יותר מ-120 משגרים של טילי קרקע-קרקע. מדובר בשליש ממשגרי טילי הקרקע-קרקע שבידי המשטר האיראני. מדובר במשגרים גדולים, חלקם ממוקמים על משאיות שנפרסו לאורכה ולרוחבה של איראן. כל משגר היה אמור לשגר עשרות טילים שיפגעו בעורף הישראלי ובנכסים ישראלים. התקיפות הללו גרמו לכך שבמטח הלילה המשטר הצליח לשגר רק מחצית מהטילים שתכנן.
The IDF announced the targeted killing of Iranian wartime Supreme Commander Ali Soleimani. This only days after it killed the last commander, Ghulam Ali Rashid. Soleimani was the closest military figure to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei.
And it's day 6 of Operation Rising Lion, the war with Iran. Overnight, over 50 Air Force jets took part in a strike on an Iranian centrifuge production site and weapon production facilities in the continuing effort to destroy the Islamic regime's nuclear and military capabilities. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has the report.
The IDF says that the centrifuge production site targeted in Tehran was used by Iran to expand the scope and rate of its uranium enrichment for the purpose of developing nuclear weapons.
We've struck deep, hitting Iran's nuclear, ballistic, and command capabilities. The Iranian regime has spent years getting closer to a nuclear weapon. They have spent billions building a ballistic missile program. Our mission is clear: to remove the threat at its source.
A target included was a site used for the production of raw materials and components for the assembly of surface-to-surface missiles that Iran has been firing at Israel, as well as facilities for making systems and components for missiles designed to hit aircraft. The army said that because of Israel's strikes in recent days, Iran's missile forces have been forced to withdraw from western to central Iran, putting efforts into launching missiles from Isfahan. Defense Minister Katz issued a warning to the Iranian leadership. Katz also told the residents of the Iranian capital to flee for their safety.
אני קורא לתושבי טהרן להתפנות מאותם מקומות בהתאם להנחיות דובר צה"ל בפרסית לשם הגנתם. תושבי טהרן, אל תסכנו את עצמכם ואל תהיו בני ערובה בידי הדיקטטור שמשתמש בכם לצורך הישרדותו.
The IDF now estimates that it will achieve its objectives against Iran's nuclear program within a week or two, and the strikes will continue until the threats are eliminated.
And in the meantime, days after Israel shuttered its airspace at the start of the war with Iran, the first flight bringing Israelis back home has landed at Ben Gurion Airport. We turn now to ILTV's Shosh Bedrosian, who is at Ben Gurion Airport. Shosh, Israelis are finally returning home. What more can you tell us?
Lidar, I'm currently standing at Ben Gurion Airport, and for the first time in nearly 6 days, these platforms at this train station have people on them. This airport has been closed for the past week now, since this conflict with Iran first started. We know that the first travelers who were able to come back landed this morning. 2 flights from Cyprus landed early this morning, and we are expected around 8 more flights from Cyprus to come in throughout the day, in addition from other European cities. It's estimated about 100,000 to 150,000 people were stranded outside of Israel just trying to make it back. Of course, we know for security reasons, this operation to get people back into Israel who were stranded is happening in stages. It's happening in waves for security reasons as this conflict with Iran continues to escalate. And now, having people back here, traveling back home, they're taking the trains, they're taking buses home. Minimally, they are taking taxis home. Right now, there is no public that is allowed to be at this airport at this time for security purposes. It is eerily quiet in most parts of this terminal where I'm standing right now. We know that El Al has been trying to secure rescue flights as well, in addition to Israel, Arkia, and other Israeli airlines trying to bring people back home, and also for those who are stranded inside of Israel to get them back to their destination, home base as well. Lidar?
Thank you, Shosh, for the report.
Well, speculation is ramping up that the United States, or at least U.S. President Trump, may be joining Israel's war against the Islamic Republic of Iran after Trump's recent comments. Let's take a look. In a dramatic message posted to Truth Social, U.S. President Trump warned everyone should evacuate Tehran. The post immediately sparked global speculation that a major escalation, or Western involvement, in Israel's war against the Islamic regime in Iran could be imminent. While Trump did not clarify whether the U.S. will get directly involved, massive weapons shipments from the United States were reported yesterday, and the statement was timed just hours after another devastating wave of Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian military command centers and nuclear sites across the country. Trump's comment also comes as reports surface that the Islamic Republic has quietly requested a ceasefire through back channels following devastating strikes on its military and strategic infrastructure. But even as the Islamic Republic calls for a ceasefire, it's threatening a major escalation on another front, its nuclear program. Officials now say the regime intends to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, a move that would legally free the Islamic Republic to build nuclear weapons and put the entire region and the world at risk. At the G7 summit, leaders issued a joint statement condemning the Islamic Republic's destabilizing actions and expressing full support for Israel's right to self-defense. But President Trump, who attended part of the summit before abruptly departing, has refused to join calls for de-escalation, instead doubling down on his demand that the Islamic Republic make a deal now or face even more destructive consequences.
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
With the Islamic Republic lashing out, Israel striking military targets, and Trump putting Tehran on notice, the question now is whether the United States is about to join the fight against the world's leading state sponsor of terror. As the world watches, the message to the regime in Tehran couldn't be clearer. Your days of terror without consequences may be coming to an end.
Will U.S. President Donald Trump join in the Israeli strike against Iranian nuclear sites? That's the main question on everyone's mind today. While his threatening rhetoric against the Iranian regime has increased over the past 24 hours, Trump has yet to make his decision public. But in one thing, he has been consistent and clear, that Iran will not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. All the details in the following report. On Tuesday night, U.S. President Donald Trump called for the unconditional surrender of the Islamic Republic of Iran. In a series of tweets on his Truth Social platform, Trump said, quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target." But he added that the U.S. will not take him out, at least not for now. Trump cautioned that U.S. patience is wearing thin. This was the latest threat to the Ayatollah regime in Tehran as Israel enters its sixth day of war against the regime's nuclear program. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with U.S. President Donald Trump overnight Tuesday amid growing speculation that Trump will decide to increase America's role in the war. The call followed lengthy security consultations in both Washington and Jerusalem. While the United States initially sent mixed messages indicating it would not enter the offensive and was seeking a return to the negotiating table and an end to the war, the tone has shifted in the last 24 hours, with numerous analysts predicting the U.S. could enter the war at any moment.
There's reports that you want to send the Vice President and Steve Witkoff to meet with the Iranians and have discussions. Is that something you're considering?
Not sure yet. I may. Depends on what happens when I get back.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end. A real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent?
Yeah, or giving up entirely. I don't know. I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces. They've lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know, I'm not too much in a mood to negotiate.
Meanwhile, Israel has taken control of Iranian skies and has operational freedom, striking nuclear sites and military targets at will. However, the Fordow nuclear facility, located deep beneath the ground under a mountain, remains an elusive target. The only way to penetrate this nuclear stronghold is with bunker-buster bombs and B-2 stealth bombers, weapons only available to the United States. Reports indicate that the United States is repositioning these assets and moving its advanced aircraft as well as fuel jets to the Middle East ahead of a possible military escalation. Behind the scenes, Israeli officials are hoping the United States will take a more offensive role in the war. So far, it has been assisting Israel in defense against Iranian ballistic missiles. But both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz reiterated Tuesday that the decision ultimately rests with U.S. President Donald Trump, and that Israel will continue its war until achieving victory with or without an increased American role, adding that Israel remains grateful for any assistance from its ally. And so for now, all eyes remain on U.S. President Donald Trump as Israel and the world await his decision. And meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader responded to Trump's comments today and said that Iran will not surrender, vowing that if the U.S. attacks, there would be severe consequences. He added that Iran does not respond well to the language of threats and that it would not accept peace or war imposed on it. For more of the latest updates from Israel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at ILTV.tv or download the ILTV Plus app. That's it for ILTV's weekly review. See you next week.